Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about that. I just needed to turn off my backup device because I'm logged on to this event via two gadgets just in case one goes down in terms of the internet connection. But I'd like to greet everybody. Very meaningful World Day of Remembrance. Good afternoon. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. My name is Tony Lambino, Assistant Secretary at the Department of Finance, and I, uh, I am privileged and honored to be part of this event. I was just told that there's an echo, so let me just leave the webinar from my second device. Is that better? I suppose that the audio is better now.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And when I was asked to join this event, I thought back to the early years when my now 13-year-old daughter was an infant, a baby, a toddler, and then a young child. I know what it's like to be a father carrying a car seat, no, in and out of rented vehicles, and finding ways to attach that car seat because the buckle system and all these different vehicles were all slightly different. So I know what it's like, and I remember fondly those years of figuring out how to use those car seats, but also the feeling of keeping a child secure. No? So when I was asked to join this event, I really had to say yes. The title says it all. No, buckle up your treasures, and I could feel that, no, as I was going through the materials to prepare for this event. Another reason why this event is close to my heart is because at the Department of Finance, we're part of the tax reform team. And over the past few years, we've been working very closely with road safety advocates, especially in terms of the taxation of sin products, and in this case, alcohol. The, um, the dangers on the road from drunk driving, and making sure that young Filipinos do not engage or practice binge drinking. Those are the types of problems that we would like to address, and to work together to solve. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, for all the good reasons that have been mentioned and that you bring to this event. Thank you also very much for having me. It's again an honor and a pleasure to be part of this very meaningful event. So this is an event that has been co-organized by Buckle Up Kids PH, ImagineLaw, and VERA Files. Now they are all grantees of the Global Road Safety Partnership, the GRSP, through the Global Health Advocacy Incubator, the GHAI, and part of the Bloomberg-funded NGO campaign for tobacco-free kids. Tobacco-free kids was a very crucial partner in our advocacy for syntax reform, especially in terms of alcohol, but also in terms of tobacco use and the use of e-cigarettes, and to discourage young people, especially from taking up these bad habits. So the Philippine Advocates for Road Safety is a network of road users and individuals and groups. There are also government agencies who are involved in the implementation of RA 11229, which will be explained later. So again, last Sunday, the World Day of Remembrance was commemorated. That was November 15th. The World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. It was commemorated in various countries. And on this day, extended to today as well, we remember loved ones whom we have lost on the road. And we honor their memory by doing our part so others won't have to suffer the same. Many road safety advocates held their own activities with proper social distancing and proper precautions to commemorate WDOR 2020. For our part, we are holding this webinar as a way for parents, drivers, and the general public to learn more about RA 11229 or the Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act. Another way to keep our loved ones safe on the road. So we are going to start with a very short video from the World Health Organization to set the stage and set the mood for this event. So can we play the video, please? And we're back in the program. Thank you so much for sharing that video, and thank you to the World Health Organization for producing it. We now move to a couple of stories told by a friend and colleague and a parent, one who lost someone who was dear to her, and another who is thankful for a loved one who was kept safe. So to start us off on our testimonials, can we please ask Pisha of VERA Files to help us remember her good friend Chip. Chi, over to you, please.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chi. I'm now going to have a share a short testimonial for Chi. So can I share the screen? I'm just going to show a few slides. Okay. It looks like I can't share the screen. It says host participant host disabled participant screen sharing. So can someone
Oh,
please?
Ma'am Chi, may I please request that maybe we check um, our technical connection because the audio is coming in um, quite softly. Perhaps a setting
Okay.
on your computer.
Well, it says that the host
There you go.
has
You sound
disabled
you're coming
the
through
screen
now, loud and clear.
No, it says the host has disabled participant sharing, screen sharing.
Oh,
So can
can we
somebody
please
please
request the technical
enable
team?
that?
I think, Ma'am Chi, it's been enabled because I tried and I was able to.
I okay, I'll try that again. Okay, all right. So can you hear me?
Oh, loud,
Yes,
loud
we
and
can
clear
hear
now.
you.
Okay, fine. So I'll start now. Okay. So remembering Cheat Estela. Lourdes Simbulan, more popularly known as Cheat Estela, was a journalist and university professor who lost her life in a road crash on the evening of May 13, 2011. The taxi she was riding was grazed by one bus on the right side and rammed by another on the rear. Both were speeding and racing against each other for passengers on that deadly road known as Commonwealth Avenue in Quezon City, also known as the Killer Highway, because of the many fatal crashes on that road. The drivers of the two buses fled the scene. They were later charged with reckless imprudence resulting in homicide. The case has dragged for 8 years and remains unresolved. The case is now awaiting decision of a Quezon City Court judge. At the time of her death, Cheat was a professor at the University of the Philippines Department of Journalism and an editor of VERA Files, which she co-founded with 5 other female journalists in 2008. Before that, she was a reporter covering various beats, among them Malacanang Palace during the time of President Cory Aquino. She also served as editor in a handful of national dailies and a few publications of nonprofit organizations. News of her death and subsequent developments took prominence in newspapers and television news programs. Cheat, after all, was known and admired by many in the media industry as a dedicated and principled journalist, and she was adored by her students. Cheat is warm and soft spoken, but that should not mean that should not be taken as a sign of weakness, because Cheat is strong and brave. Shortly after her shocking death, the Quezon City government, through its city council, adopted a resolution recognizing her contributions to the city both as a journalist and academician. The House of Representatives, then under Speaker Feliciano Belmonte, also adopted a resolution expressing condolences to her family and honoring her as a bastion of responsible and ethical journalism. Over the next months after Cheat's death, friends, colleagues, and civic groups organized activities to honor her. This included a run for road safety in June 2011 to mark the 40th day of her death. And on her first death anniversary, a similar activity was organized with support from local and national government agencies, including the MMDA, the L.T.O, LTFRB, and the Department of Transportation. A journalism award was also named after her by UP. About 15 months after her passing, a book was published by the Center for People Empowerment in Governance. It was launched in August 2012 to coincide with her birthday that fell on the same month. It is a collection of selected articles written by Cheat. The launch was also attended by transport officials who vowed to take action to ensure that deaths on the country's roads would be significantly reduced. And on November 18, 2012, a marker was unveiled on a sidewalk near the Ayala Techno Hub along Commonwealth, where Cheat lost her life the year before. The marker was put up by the city government and the University of the Philippines to honor the memory of Cheat and other lives that were lost due to similar incidents on the same road and other parts of Quezon City. The marker, and I quote, serves as an enduring symbol of Quezon City's unwavering commitment to make Commonwealth Avenue one of the safest thoroughfares in the Philippines. It also serves to renew the commitment of Quezon City as a quality city, promote road safety, and save lives in accordance with the UN Declaration on the Decade of Action for Road Safety. We at VERA Files remember Cheat and honor her and the countless other victims of road crashes, the nameless and faceless people who have lost their lives on the country's safe roads. We honor them while raising public awareness of road safety through a microsite we call the Cheat Estela Road Safety page. The page is a repository of stories written by our own staff and by reporters from different media around the country who have taken part in our Road Safety Media Fellowship, which began in 2016 under a program with the WHO. The road safety page is aimed at raising awareness of the hazards on the roads, laws and ordinances designed to address risk factors like speeding, the use of helmets by motorcyclists, seat belts for motorists, drunk and distracted driving, and the use of child restraints. The stories also look into the behavior of road users and even their lack of awareness of basic rules, as well as the uneven enforcement of road rules. Cheat died on May 13, which happened to be a Friday. I am not sure if Cheat was superstitious, but she was big on horoscopes. On the morning of that fateful day, her husband, Roland, said Cheat was excited about her horoscope because it said, "Today, you are going to experience something that is not only evolutionary, but something that is revolutionary. It will be a life changing event." Close to 10 years after her death, I am sure Cheat would be happy to know that her death had spurred calls for safer roads, and her death was not just life changing, but life saving. So let's all work towards safer roads. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that heartfelt and very sobering story about Lourdes Chit Estella Simbulan, who suffered from this tragic accident almost 10 years ago, Ma'am Chi, if I have the dates right, no, May 2011. Yeah. And the life-changing event is indeed the one that is also very hopeful for so many Filipino children whose lives will be saved from this initiative. So yeah, thank you for sharing about the life of Ma'am Chit Estella Simbulan. As Ma'am Chi Liquisha shared, please do visit the microsite about the road safety advocacies under the VERA site, VERA Files main site. So the URL is https colon backslash backslash I'm sorry forward slash verafiles.org forward slash specials forward slash road hyphen safety. So if you would like to visit that site, let me say it one more time. Perhaps the organizers can flash it at some point or type it into the chat box. https colon forward slash verafiles.org forward slash specials forward slash road hyphen safety. Next, we have a recorded video, another testimonial from a concerned parent who would like to share the message with us that we should always secure kids in our vehicles. In her case, always secure kids in cars. So here's a testimonial from a caring parent, Sigrid Garcia.
Hello everyone, my name is Sigrid Garcia. I'm an early childhood educator and I am married to a doctor for 10 years now. We have 2 children, a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. My husband and I were originally from Manila, but we transferred to Angeles City as soon as we got married. When I was still pregnant with my firstborn, I started reading blogs and baby books about what to do, what to buy, how to keep our baby safe. And from reading those things, I told my husband that I decided that we would breastfeed, we would swaddle, and also use car seats for our baby's safety. So at first, we didn't buy our own car seat. I have a friend who lent me hers because she gave birth a few months before I did. And according to her, her baby didn't want to stay in the car seat, so she was lending it to me. I also didn't want to buy one because I was afraid that it might be the same case for my son. But luckily, he was okay with it. He was riding his car seat as soon as we brought him home from the hospital. And he was okay with it. When he was a newborn, we would bring him to the pedia for his vaccines, and he would just sleep the whole time. Unfortunately, when he started getting bigger and getting more active, ayun na, he was restless in his car seat. He would cry, he would shout. But since it wasn't really a requirement here in the Philippines for us to put our kids in the car seat, whenever Mateo would cry or scream, I would get him right away, calm him down, and wait for him to sleep until I put him back in the car seat. And this happened regularly. And this was also the same practice with my daughter. Luckily, things changed when we went on a trip abroad. When we went to Australia with Mateo when he was one, and then we went to the US with Robin also when she was one. Of course, there you're really required to put your kids in the car seat. So even if they cried, they screamed. I remember Robin was throwing up from crying the whole trip. I still couldn't get them. So they had to stay put. And after a few days, they got used to being in their car seat already. That's why it was very easy when we came back. It was very easy for them not to sit still. And I think it was even more relaxing for them because they sleep faster when they're sitting in their car seat. So I think the first challenge we encountered was just really getting used to being in a car seat for our kids to stay put and get used to being buckled during the long drives, and for me to stop myself from getting my kids when they start crying. Another challenge was installing car seats. So when we bought our car seats from the mall, we weren't really taught how to install them. Um, it was my husband's responsibility, but we just checked YouTube to see if we were doing it correctly. But of course, each car has a different way of installing car seats, or they have a different set of seat belts, right? So every time we had to check if we were doing it correctly, we had to learn and relearn how to properly install the car seat. So I think that's another big challenge for people who want to try using car seats. Fortunately, even if we travel often to Manila and to Bhutan, we still haven't had any major accidents. But there was a time when Mateo was only 2 years old and we were on our way to his school when a truck, like a big 10-wheeler truck, bumped us from behind and we were in a small car. But fortunately, Mateo was in his car seat. It wasn't anything major because while we were waiting to go left, I already looked at the back and saw that the truck behind us was moving very fast and that it would hit us. So I told the driver that we were going to get hit. So when he started moving the car, the truck also was right behind us. So we just got pushed a little. Um, Good thing he was in a car seat. Nobody got hurt. Good thing it was just a minor bump. But I can't imagine what a big truck like that could do to our small car and what it can do to Mateo if he wasn't in his car seat. So I was very, very thankful that even if it was a short drive, his school is 5 minutes away from us, that I put him in a car seat. I'm quite excited for the car seat law to start because I believe that the proper use of car seats protect our children from harm. And I want all parents to know also how important it is to keep our children safe and protect their lives while we are on the road. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sigrid Garcia, for those heartwarming recollections, no, of her experiences with car seats with her kids. Um, how do other parents and other Filipinos react to this new law, this new requirement for the use of child restraints, no, in motor vehicles? Again, no, this is RA 11229, or the Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act. So we prepared a short video to see how people are reacting to this new law. Roll, please. I think we're having a bit of technical difficulty with regard to the audio. Could we please check whether the settings are correct for playback? So as the technical, there you go. Go ahead.
Aware ako na may batas na nga na gano'n na kailangan mag-seatbelt or mag-car seat yung bata.
Meron na kaming naririnig before.
Aware po.
Yes, I am aware because I have a friend who is working on the law. I also read it sa newspaper. When the news came out, nakita ko yung SM bigla nagpo-promo na sale na yung car seat, but not the real thing na I don't know when, I don't know how. Basta alam ko lang, they're already planning it.
I think this law is helpful. It's very timely also. It's something that should be implemented strictly and at the soonest possible time.
Okay naman, kasi para din sa safety. Kasi minsan mga bata baka biglang buksan yung pinto. So at least kung may seatbelt sila, medyo uncomfortable sa simula. Pero kailangan kasanayan para rin sa safety.
Tayong mga Pinoy parang hawak lang natin yung anak natin pag nagda-drive. It's about time that the law has been passed and hopefully ma-implement properly. Upon implementation, yung presyo ng car seat medyo mahal.
Yung car seat mismo, medyo may kamahalan.
Yung safety nandun, pero hindi siya masyadong talaga, parang hindi masyadong priority. Kasi yun nga, may cost kasi siya.
So yung car seat, isa yan sa mga na-research ko na sabi ko, kahit hindi pa law, 7 years ago, I will try. So I tried. May times na talagang umiiyak yung kids ko, kukunin ko, ganyan-ganyan.
Kasi hindi wala sa kultura ng Pilipino talaga yung mag-car seat eh. Hanggang ngayon marami pa rin ako nakikitang mga bata sa harap ng sasakyan na nakakalong sa nanay or sa tatay. Yung appreciation ng mga tao about the intent of the law.
What if madami siyang anak? I have friends with 4 kids. Siyempre, kung 4 kids, 4 car seats yun, di ba? Ang sikip-sikip na sa car. And then, kami ng mga friends, kung gumagamit na kami ng car seats, parang, are we still going to buy a new one? Yung mga ganon, parang, will we be taught how to use it? Or what should we buy? What should we do? Ganon, yun.
Dapat aware sila na hindi lang basta-basta na kahit anong car seat ang gamitin. Ang alam ko may mga second hand na nabibili na hindi tayo sure about sa integrity ng product. So I think isa din yun.
Meron ba siyang quality check na gagawin ang mga mag-i-implement ng mga enforcer?
Paano nila i-monitor yung pagsunod sa batas na to? Tapos kung may violation, ano din naman ang dapat gawin?
More informational campaign lang siguro, and then yun nga, baka kaya ng manufacturers to have like a lower price point.
Kailangan siguro intense information campaign para malaman ng mga tao kung bakit siya mahalaga.
Proper na info dissemination siguro ng government na merong i-implement by February, kasi kung February siya tapos nasa kalapit na tayo ng November, baka alam mo natin makapag-prepare din ng mga tao, kung meron pa mga matitirang pera for December sa mga bonus or at least mapaghandaan.
Concerns ko lang talaga yun nga na I hope we get educated about it, and I hope hindi biglaan yung pag-educate sa mga tao. As early as now, meron ng way na ipa-check yung car seat namin if it's still okay.
Safety muna ng public transport kasi yun ang mas ginagamit. Kasi kung i-implement mo sa mga private na may mga sakyan, tingin ko naman, magko-comply naman eh.
May mga tanong lang kami. May mga friends kasi ako 4'8", 4'9". Tapos matatanda na. Sila ba kailangan pang mag-car seat?
it's been proven time and again naman na pag naka-seatbelt ang bata at saka may car seat, it will save lives. Na sana may access ang lahat, malaman ng lahat na kahalagahan sa buhay ng bata at saka sa pamilya na rin, sa buong pamilya. Buckle up your treasure.
Buckle up your treasure.
Buckle up your treasures.
Okay, so we heard it straight from a number of parents who were in that video, no? Talagang maraming tanong tungkol dito sa bagong batas, no? Na February na yung implementation. So nabanggit nga kanina November na ngayon, in 4 months, no? We're gonna be in February 2021. So maraming ang tanong tungkol sa rules, ano ba yung mga presyo nitong mga produktong ito, what is the proper use of these child vehicular restraints. We fortunately have an expert on these on the answers to these questions, someone who will explain to us what the RA 11229 is all about. She is the executive director of ImagineLaw, a non-stock, non-profit public interest law organization founded in 2016. She was former legal consultant in the Philippine Senate and currently the project manager of ImagineLaw's Road Safety Project. Friends, Attorney Sofia San Luis. Attorney?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
I'll assume yes, yeah. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the Children's Safety on Motor Vehicles Act, which is RA 11229. But before that, I'd like to provide some context on what we're commemorating this week, which is the World Day of Remembrance, and why the law, RA 11229, is important. So the reason why we're commemorating the World Day of Remembrance is because of the deaths, the road deaths that occur annually in the world. I don't know if you know, as of today, the number of deaths due to COVID-19 is somewhere around 1.33 million. That's COVID-19. As you can see from my slide, the number of deaths annually due to road crashes is 1.35 million. And the number of people left with debilitating injuries is about 50 million per year. So that's about one person every 24 seconds. And the frightening thing here is that 90% of these deaths come from countries like the Philippines, low to middle income countries, or LMICs. We are more predisposed to road deaths and road injuries. So in the Philippines in 2018, 12,487 people died on our road. That's more than 34 persons every day, or more than one person every hour. Again, comparing it to COVID-19, I think as of today, we're about nearing 7,000. We're almost a year into the pandemic, or we're getting close to a year into the pandemic because it started around January, right? And we're only at 7,000. We never talk about road deaths as an epidemic, but if you look at the numbers, it's almost like an epidemic in the way, at least in the number of deaths that occur every year. So here in the Philippines, it's not just that we have 12,000 deaths last 2018, but in the last 5 years, the number has been rapidly rising. So if you can see here in my slide, the sharper increases happened just in the last 5 years. And this is worrisome because the Philippines is actually one of the few countries in the world that has laws on the 5 major road safety risk factors. And these are the 5 major road safety risk factors, and they are called major road safety risk factors because the WHO has determined that if you address these risk factors, then you can significantly reduce the number of road deaths and road injuries occurring in any country. So here in the Philippines, we already have laws on all these risk factors. And very recently, we passed the Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act. This was passed in 2018. The IRR came out last year. And this is due to be implemented by February 2021 based on the grace period provided in the law and in the IRR. So before I go into the details of the law, and I'm going to go over it quickly because the law is fairly straightforward and easy enough to understand. But I want to talk about why using a CRS is important if you look at the science behind it. So how does the CRS protect a child? First, it keeps the child in the vehicle in case of a crash, in the same way that a seatbelt prevents an adult person from being deployed out of the vehicle in case of a crash. I don't know if you recall this crash that happened in Bicol, I think in 2018, where the Avanza was sideswiped by a bus, and then it was almost crushed, and the parents of the child died, and the child was deployed out of the vehicle. The child was literally found on the road. So that's what the CRS is meant to prevent the child from being deployed out of the vehicle. The second thing is that the child restraint directs the forces to the strongest parts of the body, which is your hips and shoulders, and then distributes the force over a wider area. So if you look at the type of harness that you have in the child restraint, it's meant to distribute the force equally on your shoulder instead of just the seat belt where you have it on just one shoulder. It also protects the head, neck, brain, and spinal cord. So you can see here in the slide that the way a car seat is designed is to cradle your head and your neck. So behind me, you can see 3 types of car seats, and they're padded in that way. And then it helps the occupant ride down the crash. And what that means is, imagine if you were catching an egg, you're not going to meet the egg directly, right? You're going to try to cradle it to absorb the impact. And that's how the CRS is designed. It absorbs part of the impact. It allows you to ride down the crash. Some of, here in the Philippines, it's very common for us to hear parents say that they'll just hold on to their child. Kakalungin na lang nila. Thinking that perhaps their kalong or their embrace will keep the child safe. And this is not correct. The science says that it's not correct. Your embrace is not enough to protect your child. Why? Because the weight of the child multiplies depending on the speed or the force of the crash. So if you have a crash that occurs at 50 miles per hour pa tong nasa ano, then it would feel like you're carrying a 500-pound child. That's how much force you have to exert to prevent the child from leaving your arms. Unless you're Superman, you're probably not going to be able to prevent your child from being deployed at that speed. And 50 miles per hour is less than the speed in our national highways, in our open roads. So it's a fairly common speed. We also know that the use of child safety seats is effective in preventing deaths and injuries. So it can prevent deaths by approximately 70% if we're talking about rear-facing child restraints, and by 54 to 80% if we're talking about front-facing child restraint. So behind me, you can see one rear-facing there. I placed it on a chair so that you understand that it's rear-facing. Then I have 2 that's forward-facing and a booster seat. So what does the Republic Act 1129 say? First, its coverage, it was mentioned earlier in the video, its coverage is for all private vehicles, including those that are under lease. For example, if you were to lease a vehicle, then you're still covered by the law. It does not cover PUVs. For PUVs, the DOTR is mandated to study if the use of CRS should be recommended, and it will be recommended to Congress. Why is that? Because PUVs are not designed, generally not designed to accommodate child restraints. We do have a few, like the FX na nakasanayan natin. They can probably accommodate CRS. But then you'll have this problem of alighting and installing the CRS in PUVs. So I think the DOTR should still study the economics of that. Our buses and jeepneys also are not designed to accommodate. But we're not leaving, our children public utility riders hanging, because there are other interventions. As I mentioned earlier, we have other laws that apply to PUVs, like speeding, our speed limit laws, our anti-drink driving laws. These are also meant to protect the general public, including those riding PUVs. The law also mandates the driver to ensure that a child is someone who is 12 years old and below, with a height of 4'11" and below, to be properly secured at all times in a CRS that is appropriate to a child's age, height, and weight, and approved according to the standards set by the D.T.I. And these standards are UN Regulations 44 or 129, based on what the recent issuances of the D.T.I. But the D.T.I. may include other standards, and I'll talk about that later. But a quick word on what an appropriate CRS is. So an appropriate CRS is one that can accommodate the size of the child. So the age and height and weight here are guidance, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to check if your child still fits well into the CRS. Like if the shoulder, there's no space between the harness and the shoulders, etc. But generally, you have your infant carrier, or what is more technically known as your rear-facing child restraints, the one behind me on the orange chair. This is rear-facing because it carries infants, and infants have bigger heads. Their heads are not yet proportional to the size of their bodies, and they're not yet capable of preventing whiplash, of controlling their body so that they can protect themselves. And so in the event of a car, what I mentioned earlier, it's like an egg that you're absorbing. That's what happens in the event of a crash. The child pretty much is leaning towards the rear side of the child restraint. So you have also the forward-facing child restraint, the red one behind me, that can accommodate a child that's a toddler, about 2'3" or 4'4" yung height. And then you have your booster seats for someone that's a little bit bigger already, about 4 feet or 4 feet 11 inches. And then you have your convertible that adjusts according to the size of the child. This one that I have here, the photo here, can actually be adjusted all the way up to 12 years old, this particular model. And it can be an infant carrier, meaning it can be rear facing as well. So those are the types of CRS, and really you have to look at the height, the weight of the child, and really see if the CRS still fits your child at the end of the day. The law also provides for standards for the CRS to ensure safety. So the D.T.I. is mandated to use the standards of the United Nations. So this is UN Regs 44 and 129, including its evolving standards. So if the UN were to change it or adopt new standards, then that will be included. And then other international standards, depending on what the D.T.I. might accept. Manufacturers, importers, and distributors are required to secure a PS mark or an ICC sticker prior to marketing, sale, and distribution. And the D.T.I. is mandated to publish a list of the brands that have passed its standards. Now, it was mentioned earlier that you can buy secondhand CRS, yung mga napaglumaan na. And the law recognizes that there are CRS that were purchased before the law came into effect, and it allows the use of prior acquired CRS. Under the IRR, the LTO must check the CRS and certify that it is still safe to use. But for the guidance of the general public, all the mothers that are attending today, if you're buying a secondhand CRS, these are the things that you may want to take a look at. This isn't in the law, it's in the IRR, and it will be in the guidelines to be issued by the LTO, I hope, when they issue guidelines on prior acquired CRS. But generally, what you check for is, has it been involved in a serious crash? You check for cracks in the shell. You check if the harnesses are frayed, worn, damaged. If they have been cut, there are tears. And then you check if the quick release buckle are still working. It doesn't get stuck or it's not loose. And then you check if all the parts are included. So again, just to reiterate, you can use secondhand CRS. So what are the prohibited acts? Well, the prohibited acts also obviously states the mandates in the law, but I included it here in just one slide na lang for to save time. But the prohibited acts, first, it's failure to properly secure a child in a child restraint system. Second is allowing a child to sit in the front seat of a motor vehicle. So why is this disallowed? This is actually already disallowed under our seatbelt law. But under our seatbelt law, a child 6 years old and below lang yung disallowed from riding in front of the vehicle. But under this RA 11229, up to 12 years old yung prohibition. Why? I'm sure you know that most of our vehicles these days have airbags in front. And if a child were to be involved in a crash while seated in front, the body of the child cannot sustain cannot absorb the impact of the airbag. Masyado pang weak yung body ng child for that. And it might lead to serious injuries. That's just one of the things, one of the reasons, but I guess that's the more easy to imagine na scenario. But also, because the seatbelt nga doesn't fit the child, there's still a risk that you might be deployed outside, etc. So there are a lot of reasons not to place your child in front. So the third is leaving a child unattended in a motor vehicle. So I'm sure you've heard of stories both here in the Philippines and the United States where you find a child left in the car while the parent went to the grocery. I think last year there was a parent that just forgot completely that the child was inside the car and the child died. So that's what we're preventing, especially because here in the Philippines it's very hot. And then the law also prohibits the use of substandard or expired CRS. That's on the part of the driver. On the part of the manufacturer, distributors, importers, and sellers of CRS, they are prohibited from selling substandard and expired CRS. And of course, they are prohibited from tampering, altering, or forging the PS mark or ICC. Now, how much are the penalties? It depends how many times or if you're a recidivist or not, if you've committed it multiple times. But as a rule, the first offense is 1,000 pesos for the driver. And depending on how many times he or she has committed the offense, it can go up to 5,000 with suspension of the driver's license and imprisonment. Now, for the manufacturers and sellers of CRS, the penalty can go up to from 50,000 to 100,000 with imprisonment as well. So the IRR, which was issued last year, also provides for other mandates. And I won't go into detail as to that, but I think what might be good for the public to hear is that first, there is going to be an information education campaign headed by the DOTR and the PIA, or the Philippine Information Agency. The IRR also provides for the setting up of fitting stations throughout the country, so that parents can go, for instance, to an L.T.O fitting station and ask the L.T.O, please install my car seat. because I'm not comfortable installing it myself. And also, as I've said, there is going to be a system allowing the L.T.O to check if prior acquired CRS or your secondhand CRS are still safe for travel. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at hello@imaginelaw.ph. And you can also visit our website or leave us a message on our Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney San Luis. Also, if you have questions during this event, please do type in your question in the chat box in the Zoom webinar for the participants of this event. Attorney San Luis will be joining us later for a Q&A session, as well as Chi Lukisha from VERA Files, who spoke earlier, and the other speakers who have yet to make their presentations. So again, for the participants, please do type in any question that you might have in the chat box in the Zoom webinar. Okay, so thank you again, Attorney San Luis. You mentioned that there were several laws that we already have in place here in the Philippines. The speed, managing speed on the road, anti-drunk driving, helmet use, seatbelt use, and now the child restraint use law. So let's go to one of the legislative champions of this law, a proponent of the bill that eventually became RA 11229. And here's a short message from former Senator J.V. Ejercito. I think we're missing. Oh, there you go. Can we start the video again? I think we were missing the audio earlier.
1129 for the Child Safety and Protection Act. Sorry to join you today, but I'd like to thank everybody for your support and for participation in this webinar. Please continue to support RA 1129 for the Child Safety and Protection Act. Hopefully we can save lives of children and infants to this act. This is not only a health issue but a transport issue as well. So I'm encouraging all the transport advocates in the LGUs to help one another to, I hope that cooperate so that the proper implementation of this law would be possible.
And that is a perfect segue from one of our legislative champions in the space of road safety and sin taxes. Again, we worked with a number of legislative champions. Senator Ejercito was one of them in terms of reforming our sin taxes, including alcohol taxes to reduce drunk and binge drinking. So how will this law be implemented? Exactly the point that former Senator Ejercito shared. We have a couple of speakers who will be sharing what the plans and the policies are in that regard. Our roads can be safer, is the topic of the next speaker. He is the head of the Traffic Safety Department of the L.T.O. He will set the more practical information, provide the more practical information about the rollout of this law. L.T.O, of course, as we know, being one of the implementing agencies and will be ensuring compliance on the road. We saw that in the presentation of Attorney San Luis. So to speak on how our roads can be safer, not just the why, but now on the how. Let us all welcome Mr. Roberto Valera, the head of the Traffic Safety Department of the L.T.O. Mr. Valera?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm supposed to talk about Republic Act 11229 and road safety. Can I have the screen share? Anyway, when we talk about road safety or safer roads, what comes into our mind is the safe systems approach, and the safe roads is one of the major component of the safe systems approach. The other ones are safe speeds, safe people, safe cars, and the post-crash care. In other words, combination of these 5 pillars of the safe systems approach lessens the impact or the adverse effect of a road crash incident, which may result into deaths and serious human injuries. That's why this law was passed, as mentioned earlier by Attorney Sok. The Republic Act 11-2009 completes the laws that which addresses the 5 behavioral risk factors. I'm going, before I go into the statistics that I'm going to show in this screen, the L.T.O is tasked by the law to perform three major functions for the implementation of the law, which will be implemented February of 2021. L.T.O is going to train or deputize enforcers. And in other words, we will come up with a protocol on the deputation enforcement of the LEOs. The other is for the accreditation of the fitting station. And the third, as mentioned earlier by Attorney Sok, is the inspection of used car seats. And we are fortunate enough that ImagineLaw has provided us already with a template for our TWGs. The Assistant Secretaries already signed a memorandum addressed to the regional directors for the designation of personnel to serve as inspectors. So in other words, we have already started the ball rolling. We're going to implement the law. We are, of course, tasked to perform these 3 major functions, and we are already preparing for the implementation of the law in February 2021. Okay, so let me first discuss the evidence-based approach. Okay, so based on statistics, 186,300 children die worldwide each year from road crashes. 500 children die worldwide every day from road crashes. And 17% of the total road deaths from 2006 to 2011, and this translates to 12,000 children aged less than 1 to 19 years old. On average, 1,334 children die each year from these crashes. And based on PSE data from 2006 to 2015, the casualty rate of road crash for children aged 1 to 19 years currently is the number 1 cause of the deaths of the children. So, based on these statistics, you can see that children are more vulnerable victims on road crashes, since they have softer bones, weaker neck muscles, and more fragile bodies. That's the same reason that children are recommended to ride in the back of the vehicle. And the child restraint system reduces the likelihood of a road crash fatality by 70%. Just imagine, 70% among infants and between 54 to 80% among young children. So a child up to 4 years of age has 50% lower risk of injury in a forward-facing child restraint and 80% lower risk in a back in a back-facing car seat. I'm sorry. So for children's age 5 to 9 years old, child restraint system reduce injury by 52%. For children 10 to 14 years old, some of them are wearing seat belts already, reduces injury by 51%. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. 46%, I'm sorry. And in the US, child safety seats that are correctly installed and used by children aged 0 to 4 years can reduce the need for hospitalization by 69%. So the risk of deaths for infants is reduced by 70%, and the children aged 1 to 4 years by 47 to 54%. So RA 11329, the Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act. The road safety implication of the use of the car seats, child car seats, they are intended to keep children firmly secured in their seats so that in case of a road crash incident or a braking or collision, the child will not be fatally thrown away against the car, interior ejected in the vehicle. I would just like to add on what Attorney Sok mentioned earlier about the effect of the kinetic energy created by the motion of the motor vehicle. If a motor vehicle, let's say, if a motor vehicle moving at 50 miles per hour, it's a stationary object. It's like falling from a 4-story building. And then a child who weighs, let's say 10 pounds, a baby or an infant who weighs 10 pounds will be 10 times heavier in case of a road crash instead because of the kinetic energy principle in physics. So just imagine how a mother can hold on to a 100-pound baby. So the CRS must absorb kinetic energy created by the motion of the child during crash without injuring the child. So the highlights of the CRS law, we have the mandatory use of child restraint system. Children below 12 years old are not allowed to sit in the front seat, and a child must never be left unaccompanied by an adult in a motor vehicle. So, finally, I will not discuss anymore the salient points of the law because it was discussed already by Attorney Sok. The declaration or policy of the state is the section 2 of the IRR. The state wants to ensure the safety of the children while being transported. And the state recognizes the right of the children for assistance, including proper care and special protection from all forms of neglect, abuse, and other conditions. In other words, children must be protected from this risk because children are considered also as vulnerable to this risk involved in while inside a moving vehicle. So that ends my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valera, the head of the Traffic Safety Department of the L.T.O. How can we prepare for RA 11229? We also have another agency that will be in the forefront of implementing this law. We have a presentation on the technical regulations that will be issued by the Department of Trade and Industry, Bureau of Philippine Standards concerning the mandatory product certification of child restraint systems. For this, we have the Product Certification Officer of the Bureau of Philippine Standards of the D.T.I. He is a chemical engineering graduate from UP Diliman, and in college he was a member of UP Volunteers for Children, an organization that helps raise awareness about health, education, and protection of children. For this presentation on preparing for the rollout of RA 11229, we have Engineer Isaiah Dale Lim. Engineer Lim.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Let me share my screen. There, can you see my screen?
Yes, engineer, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction and for inviting the Department of Trade and Industry in your webinar. You may call me Dale. As said in the introduction, in my college years, I have been part of an organization promoting the health, education, and protection of children. This is why I am delighted that we have laws such as the RA 11229 to protect the children. Right now, I am working under the Bureau of Philippine Standards. The role of BPS, it is to ensure the quality and safety of products such as the child restraint system or the child seat or the car seats. So let me share to you what is a child restraint system or CRS or child seat or car seat. So it is a device capable of accommodating a child occupant in a sitting or supine position. So ito po yung nakaupo or nakahiga. It is designed to diminish the risk of injury to the wearer in the event of a collision, pagbanggaan, or of abrupt deceleration of the vehicle. So biglang nag-brake by limiting the mobility of the child's body. So a brief background first. According to Republic Act number 11229 or the Child Safety in Motor Vehicles Act, it is the policy of the state to ensure the safety of children while being transported in any form of motor vehicle. In the Section 6 of the RA, it mandates D.T.I to use standards set forth, namely the United Nations Regulations 44 and 129. So it states there that manufacturers, importers, distributors, and sellers of CRS are required to secure PS Mark license or ICC certificates prior to marketing, sale, and distribution. Meaning po, lahat po ng locally manufactured or mga na-import na CRS ay dapat ma-certify ni BPS. Then ang BPS po, inadopt po yung UNR as the Philippine National Standard or PNS for the CRS. Then nag-release po kami ng technical regulation under the Department Administrative Order 20-03. So according po sa DAO 20-03, ito po yung scope ng child seats na dapat i-cover natin. So first po yung lateral facing or yung carry cot. Then yung rearward facing, which is nakaharap po sa seat yung bata. Then yung forward facing, in normal position po. Then meron pong combination kanina, katulad ng pinakita ni attorney, na rearward or forward facing na adjust po siya. Then may booster cushion or seat. And may other types for similar purposes. Ayan. So ang BPS po, meron pong dalawang product certification schemes. Yung first po ay yung Philippine Standard or PS Safety Mark Licensing Scheme. So it is issued to a manufacturer whose factory's quality management system and product have successfully complied with the requirements of the PNS ISO 9001 and the relevant product standards respectively. So upon issuance of the PS license, the manufacturer is to affix the PS mark on their product or product package. So familiarize nyo po yung mga sarili nyo dun sa PS mark. Yan po ang makikita nyo. So the PS license is issued to a local or foreign manufacturer upon compliance with the following. So dalawa po ang check namin pag mag-audit kami sa planta. First po is yung factory audit, which is based on Quality Management Systems or PNS ISO 9001:2015. And the second one is the product audit, which is based on the Philippine National Standards. So for this case po, PNS UNR 44 of 2018, PNS UNR 129 of 2018. So ito po performance, yung mga standards po na dapat ma-comply. So para po sa mga mag-a-apply po ng PS, ito po yung online system namin, which is the PCIMS or the Product Certification Information Management System. So kukuha po si manufacturer or si importer po ng form, fill out and will have it notarized. Then for the case of foreign manufacturers po, yung importer po yung mag-aasikaso po ng files nila such as the registration form. Then they will submit the accomplished PSIMS account registration form and necessary documents sa amin. Tapos magko-confirm po kami kung meron ng account sila. Afterwards po, mag-a-apply po sila dun sa online system namin, dun sa site namin which is yung qualityproducts.dti.gov.ph. They will fill out application details and upload the necessary supporting documents. After po nun, they will submit for our evaluation. So evaluation of PS application through the system, kung hindi po nagko-comply, ibabalik po namin yung application dun sa applicant para po makorek nila. If magko-comply naman, magsischedule na po ng factory audit, then independent product testing. Afterwards po, may evaluation po ng audit and the test reports. After po nun, kung hindi po magko-comply, meron pong chance si applicant to undertake corrective actions if applicable. Pero pag nag-comply naman po, po tayo sa next step which is yung approval. So it will be recommended for the issuance of the PS license and ma-approve rin po with yung mga statement of account. Afterwards po, diretso na po sa payment of applicable fees. Pwede na pong i-claim yung PS license, certificate, and scope of certification pagkatapos po nun. So ang PS license nga po pala ay plant-specific or address-specific and importer-specific. So may times po na isang foreign manufacturer, meron siya multiple PS licenses for iba't ibang importers niya. Also, ang PS license po ay valid for 3 years. So meaning po, within those 3 years, pwede po sila mag-manufacture and mag-distribute sa Philippines ng mga CRS nila. Tapos po, a notification will be sent through email for the schedule of the surveillance and recertification audit. Kasi po for those 3 years, every year po magko-conduct year, meron pong recertification audit for the renewal of their license. So yung next product certification scheme naman po namin ay yung Statement of Confirmation or SOC or yung Import Commodity Clearance or ICC for imported child restraint systems. So upon importation po, ang question po muna is the foreign manufacturer PS certified or may license po ba ng PS yung gumagawa sa ibang bansa? If yes po, they will proceed to the SOC application. Yan. So ang steps po, normal po, dapat po meron siyang account dun sa system namin, mag-login po, if fill out ng application details and mag-upload ng necessary supporting documents. Then sasabit po nila for our evaluation. So upon evaluation po namin, pag hindi po nag-comply, of course, ibabalik po namin sa applicant for their correction. Then after po nun, may payment of applicable fees. Afterwards po, makuha na po nila yung Certificate of Conditional Release nila. Ang Certificate of Conditional Release po, ito po yung ini-issue namin para po ma-release yung shipment from the Bureau of Customs. After po nun, magkakaroon po ng product verification. So ito po yung pupunta sa warehouse, checkin yung mga products. And i-check po namin kung consistent yung actual products with their submitted importation documents. If ever po hindi consistent, yung importer po ay magkakaroon ng show cause order. Pag consistent naman po, they will be issued with a statement of confirmation. Meaning po, pwede na lang i-distribute na yung mga products sa Philippines. Kung hindi naman po PS certified or wala pong PS license yung foreign manufacturer na pagkukunan ng mga importer, ang pagpupuntahan po nila ay yung ICC application. So of course po, kailangan mag-register si importer sa system namin. Then mag-login po sila, fill out the application details, upload the necessary supporting documents, then submit the application through PIS evaluation. Of course, kung hindi po nga again nag-comply, ibabalik po namin sa kanila for their correction. Kung okay na naman po, they will proceed to the payment of applicable fees. Afterwards po, may issuehan sila ng Certificate of Conditional Release. Tapos magkukonduct po ng product inspection. Tapos if ever po consistent with the importation documents, pag hindi po consistent muna, they will be issued a show cause order. Pero pag consistent naman po, they can proceed with the ICC certificate and the ICC stickers. So ito po yung ICC stickers. So Import Commodity Clearance or ICC sticker. So ICC stickers are issued to importers whose child restraint systems comply with the ICC certification process. Yan. So kung mapansin niyo po, ito po yung sticker na nakadikit sa mga products such as yung CRS and even yung mga other products na dumadaan po sa mandatory certification ng Bureau of Philippine Standards. So meron pong holographic images yan, may serial numbers, and may QR code. Yan. If ever po may questions kayo sa process ng application and other requirements, you may refer to our DAO 20-03. Yan. So as consumers po, ito po yung dapat maging vigilant tayo as we check sa market, pagbibili tayo ng mga CRS and other products nga na covered ng BPS. So the required markings and information shall be as follows. So child restraint systems, dapat po merong manufacturer's name, initials, or trademark. Then meron pong year of production. Meron rin pong instructions for correct installation and use such as appropriate pictograms or symbols, correct webbing, path, and configuration. Tapos meron rin pong country of origin such as made in the Philippines, made in the United States, etc. Tapos meron rin pong dapat serial or batch number for traceability purposes. And of course, yung diniscuss ko po kanina, yung PS license mark or ICC sticker. Sa packaging naman po, make sure po na merong trade name or brand name, meron pong duly registered trademark, and according po sa Consumer Act of the Philippines or RA 7394, meron dapat siyang duly registered business name and address of the manufacturer and importer if imported, or duly registered business name and address of the manufacturer if locally manufactured. Ayan. So with that po, I will remind you na ang DAO po namin ay effective na po since August 8, 2020. Meaning po, lahat po ng locally manufactured or na child restraint systems dapat po dumadaan sa amin. Tapos, according po sa Rule 7 ng Implementing Rules and Regulations ng RA 11229, mahalaga po ang consumer protection. So, if ever po may issues kayo or complaints with regards to these products, you may approach our consumer welfare desk dito po sa DTI or dial 1384, or you may contact us sa platforms po na DTI Consumer Care sa Facebook, sa Twitter, sa Instagram, sa YouTube, or sa site po namin. And with that po, on behalf of the Bureau of Philippine Standards and D.T.I, thank you po for inviting us in your webinar regarding child restraint systems.
Thank you very much, Engineer Isaiah Dale Lim of the Bureau of Philippine Standards of the D.T.I. So we've heard from D.T.I, we've heard from the L.T.O about the implementation plans. We heard about the law itself from Attorney Sob and former Senator JV. Now let's hear responses from our panel. So we've prepared a very special panel for you this afternoon. And let's start off with a TV actress and host joining us today as a parent panelist. By the way, Sophie and Chi will be joining the panel as well. But let's start off with a parent celebrity who will provide her reaction to the speakers, from the perspective of a new parent, and as a road safety advocate. She's also a host, a couturier, a dancer, a CEO of RT Studios and Regine Tolentino Atelier, and a mom to Reagan, and her little one, Rosie. Did I pronounce the names of your children correctly, Regine? I hope I did. You can correct me after I introduce you. So everybody, please welcome a good friend from many years back, Regine Tolentino.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. I'm very thrilled and honored to join you as today, as the whole world remembers road victims and those whose lives have been greatly affected by road accidents. And I also join organizations and individuals honoring those who have been injured and those precious lives who were cut short in road crashes. And we also remember their families as well. So like what Sir Tony said, I have embraced road safety as a worthwhile cause. And kung pwede ko lang pagsigawan sa lahat, lalo na pag nakakita ko yung mga kids sitting in the front or yung mga nakikisabay pa sa motorcycle, those things really, really freak me out. So I'm all about road safety. At nagpapasalamat din ako na finally, I'm so relieved, meron na tayong batas for child car seats. So as a mom, like what Tony said, I actually have 2 older daughters. So I'm actually an old mom because mga dalaga ni sila, age 20 and 21. And I'm also a new mom because I have a new baby who is 8 months today. So I know how it's like to raise a child back then and now, iba na talaga. And so I'm very thrilled about talking about this topic because it's dear to my heart because I grew up in the States. I lived there for 16 years, born and raised. And dun ko talaga na-witness kung gaano ka-importante ang car seats. Here are some of my experiences. Like ako, my parents they moved there when they were teens as well. Hindi sila masyadong fond of car seats. So there was a time where we were driving. I was 5 years old and my dad stepped on the brakes because may kotse sa harap na biglang, I don't know, something happened. And I fell in the car kasi we were in a van. Nakahiga ako in the passenger seat behind him. And nakahiga ako like that. And I was only like 5 years old and I fell really hard. I hit my head and I was crying so much. And that's because hindi ako naka-car seat because I was quite a small child. So I remember that. I also remember my mom getting pulled over kasi nga hindi kami naka-car seat even though I was 5 years old. My brother was 2 years old. Parang hindi pa rin masyadong maano sa mami ko na kailangan naka-car seat at that time because 80s pa yon. And she got pulled over and she got a ticket. So dun naging mas serious yung mom ko because syempre she's paying already. So yeah, we invested in a car seat medyo late na because my brother was kind of a big baby already then, but we had to. And now that, me and my brothers are adults now, they live in the States and yun nga, they have car seats. When I visit them, talagang it's a must that they have their car seats. And even if the kid is nagwawala, nagsusuka, or whatever, it's a must that the kids are strapped in the back seat, even if it's just the mom driving. And it's just the culture. I grew up with that culture. I still witness it. And I'm so relieved, finally, dito sa Pilipinas, meron ng rules about this. And it's about time. So I really nakikiisa sa inyo about road safety. And definitely safety is number 1 for me, It's the most important thing, whether papunta sa bahay, pauwi sa bahay, going to work, or yung namamasyal lang. Yun, safety first talaga. Yung safety ng pamilya ko, ang iniisip ko all the time, lalo na for my kids. So, like I said, for me, being a mom again, like I have an 8-month-old, and so hindi naman namin siya masyado nalabas. But when we do, I'm thankful that yung nakuha namin na stroller is also a car seat, so you can put it in the car and strap it in. So I'm lucky that I have that. Although I do have to go shopping kasi medyo mas malaki na siya when I have the time or find one online. But yun nga, it's a concern for me because yun nga, you never know. Walang pinipili when it comes to car accidents. It can happen anytime. So yun. I also have a sister-in-law who actually lost a sibling in a car crash because of a drunk driver. Siya and yung brother niya ang nag-survive because they were in a car seat. And so she's also very adamant about this advocacy in childcare safety. And sana yun nga, yung culture na na-experience ko sa US, sana ma-adapt din dito yan, yung importance niyan. Even though people think like yung mga mommies dyan or yung mga families dyan, traffic naman wala naman mangyayari kung from here, point A to point B. You never know. So I've also learned my lesson the hard way by falling before and my mom getting a ticket. And I'm hoping in terms of saving lives na talagang ma-implement ito. And so, yun nga, in conclusion, sa aking mga sinashare sa inyo, it's best that we do keep our children in a car seat and let's keep our kids in the back of the car, never in the front. And yeah, let's use these car seats. I'm excited about the education na ilalabas with this new law so that people will be aware that yun nga, it will be available, it will be affordable, it will be quality, and it'll promote everyone to buckle up their children in the car, not just themselves, diba? Car seats can save children's lives during accidents, and that is the truth, and that is a fact. So I've been here in the Philippines for 26 years. I've seen so many instances where, whether commuting, whether, class A family or even CDE, whatever, it really is a must, whether you're in the city or in the province. Talagang, I'm really proud of this. And I'm very excited for things to come. As a mom, it's a concern that's really close to my heart. And I hope that I can help in my own way in sharing this news to other families out there.
Thank you so much, Regine. I join you in this advocacy. I was in the US for 13 years and my daughter was born there. The first seat she ever sat in was her rear-facing infant child seat. And I remember that time, Regine, that's when my biceps actually started building up a little bit because I had to keep carrying the car seat with a baby in it. No? All the time, anywhere we went, we were renting cars, so we had to learn how to use the restraint systems because they are quite different in different vehicles. So yeah, I mean, it's something that young parents learn automatically, and now that's going to be a reality here in the Philippines as well. Yeah, Regine, you're actually joined. Go ahead, please. Yeah, you were saying.
No, just say, sa totoo lang, I guess you could say it is an investment because it really is a contraption talaga. As far as I know, in my experience, they're not really that affordable. Like yung talagang, you have to save up for it. I think it's especially there's lots of different types that are available, but and it is kind of difficult to set up and everything. But that challenge is worth it when you're talking about saving your.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think for people who own personal vehicles, it's part of the cost of actually maintaining a vehicle if you have children. It's I mean, we spend so much on new tires when the tires are not safe anymore, and in our steering systems to make sure that our families are safe. So this is part of that, part of that whole ecology of products and maintenance that we have to do for our vehicles. At least that's how I saw it as a young parent a few decades ago, a couple of decades back. Anyway, we are joined on this panel by Chi from VERA Files, who shared a very heart-warming and heartbreaking commemoration of Chi's life and sudden tragic death because of a vehicular accident. So, Chi, are you still on with us? And we are also joined still by Attorney Sop San Luis, who did a presentation earlier. We've been asking our participants to type in their questions. I've seen some back and forths already. Attorney Sop responded to a question about whether there is an option not to use CRS in the front seat, meaning if you switch off your airbags. I didn't read that question well. If you switch off the airbags in your vehicle, because when the airbags are on, it's not safe for a car seat to be in the front seat. Some countries allow car seats in the front seat when the airbags are switched off. And Attorney Sop answered already. It is not allowed under RA 11229. Same thing in the United States, I believe. I'm not sure if it was the same in the state where you grew up, Regine, but you weren't allowed to put car seats in the front seat.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
No.
only in the back seat. And behind one of the seats, not in the middle also, because the middle seat is less safe than, right behind the driver's seat actually is the safest seat in a car, because a driver instinctively in an accident will steer away from the accident. So behind the driver is the safest spot for a child restraint system. Anyway, Regine, anything to add? Or Sop, if you're Attorney Sop, if you're rejoining us, or Chi, if you're rejoining us, please.
Yeah, Tony, I just wanted to clarify about the cost of car seats. There was a study conducted when we were advocating for this law about the affordability of car seats. And actually they found, and this was a study conducted by Dr. Hilton Lam and his group. And what they found is that the range of the cost of car seats really varies greatly. So you have the very expensive ones that are about 40,000. That's, everything is in there already, and you can use it from 0 up to 12 years. And then you have the cheaper ones, but are still safe. They're still compliant with the UN standards. And they're quite cheap. They're like the ones behind me. I'm not going to endorse the brand, so I won't mention the brand. These are the different types of car seats that you're going to use throughout the early ages of your child from 0 to 12. You have the infant carrier at the back. That's 2,500 pesos. You have this one, the red one is ISOFIX already, which is the one that you can just attach to the car if you have an ISOFIX vehicle. This is 6,000 pesos. And then the black one is a booster seat. You use it for about 4 to 12 years old. That's, I think, about 3,500. I mean, when I was computing it, the cheapest na combination type of CRS that you can use from 0 to 12 that we've found is about 11,000 pesos. That's about 900 a year for the whole 12 years of your kid, which is like 76 pesos per month. It's much cheaper than your average milk tea, much cheaper than your average Starbucks. And Tony, you're right. This is an investment you have to make for your child. If you are paying for your seatbelt when you buy your car, then you should pay for the seatbelt for your kid that's appropriate for the size of the child, diba? So you're actually paying for your seatbelt. It doesn't come free with the vehicle naman. So the same mentality should apply for car seats.
Thank you, Attorney San Luis. And by the way, it's okay for a hand-me-down to be used as long as it's checked by the L.T.O. And it's really important to also know the status of that CRS, because if it's been in a major accident, something that was mentioned earlier, it shouldn't be used anymore, right? So I remember passing on our car seats as our daughter started getting bigger, and we would pass it on to friends because they knew us, so they knew that what we were telling them about the history of that car seat was true. So there are many ways to do this, and I think there's going to be a primary, secondary, tertiary market for these things. But I think it's really important that the regulations on the checking of the car seat are well implemented. So maybe we can ask some of our other resource persons to speak to that. Engineer Lim or Mr. Valera. Would you like to add anything? There is a question from Maia Urmatam, where they can get a list of acceptable CRS, those that meet the safety standards. Mr. Valera, any advice on this, or Engineer Lim?
Hello.
I think D.T.I is more competent to discuss that.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Engineer Lim. Thank you, Mr. Valera.
Yes, sir. I think It was already answered earlier, but it says here where to get a list of
Please
acceptable
reshare that slide
CRS.
if it's accessible to you.
Yes, sir. It's not on. It's not in my slides. But
Okay.
the list of acceptable CRS which were certified by the BPS, either the PS licensees or the ICC certificates, should be seen in our site, the www.bps.dti.gov.ph. But as of now, we have not received any applications for PS or ICC. But in the future, if if importers or manufacturers start applying, we should be updating that database.
Okay, so that database will start being populated as the implementation rolls out, no? Starting, I believe, February of 2021. Is that right? I think Engineer Lim is on mute, but now he's just unmuted. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, sorry.
Oh, the implementation proper starts February 2021. That's when
yes, sir.
Vehicle owners who have children in their vehicles will need to comply. Sir. Yeah. Attorney Soft, anything? Go ahead.
But for BPS, as per our DAO 20-03, the effectivity of its effectivity was already started last August 8th, which means all those CRS being manufactured here or all those who are being imported here should be certified by the BPS, regardless of the implementation of the RA 11229.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Engineer Lim. So you've been implementing already. Yeah.
Yes,
in terms of the standards. Yes, sir. Mr. Valera, please.
We will be enforcing the law by February. You're right, sir. February 2021.
February 2021. So parents have time to prepare, parents and guardians of children. I was wondering, Chi, from VERA Files, is there anything you'd like to add to the conversation? You were one of our first speakers at this event and have been very patient.
Okay, I actually missed a major part of Attorney Sophie's comments because nag-fluctuating power, no? But anyway, I also have some questions and maybe suggestions about pricing, because even when we were writing stories about CRS early on, many of the people would say, "Oh, ang mahal naman." And even in the video that you presented earlier, one of the issues was pricing. It's expensive, but we always say, "Okay, it's expensive, but how much do you pay for a cell phone, for instance? And how many cell phones do you have in your bag?" So maybe that's one of the part of the messaging that. And we always say that in our stories that a life of the child is priceless. So that's one side of it. But on the other, again, when it comes to pricing, you have online sales, manufacturers that sell online with prices so low. So you're not sure, are they up to standards or what? Because even before the pandemic, my sister called my attention to an online ad for a CRS, and she said it was selling for 1,500, which I thought was too cheap. I mean, I don't know if I'm not sure if it's what kind of brand it was. And so now everyone is going online for sales and things like that. So how can we assure consumers that they can be protected from substandard CRS? Maybe an attraction would be low prices, but maybe it's not up to standards. And also, do they have the PS marks? Do they have ICC stickers and all that? So that's maybe one thing that we should look at.
Yeah, would anyone like to come in on that?
Yeah, for us, what we did when we were buying this set of car seats, what we did was we inquired with the seller if it's compliant with UN regulations 44 or 129. What other consumers can also do while we're not yet implementing the law and the DTI website hasn't been populated yet is also to check other countries, the databases of other countries, as to the different brands that they have approved. Like for instance, in the United States, they also comply with UN Regs 44 and 129. In the European Union, most of the countries there comply with UN Regs 44 and 129. So if in their database the brand is also there, then very likely that they really do comply with the standards. The price point isn't really a good gauge of whether it is compliant with the standards. Like I said, the one behind me is 2,500, the infant carrier. And it has the UN regs label there. These are 3-point harnesses lang siya. Right now, UN regs 1295 na yan. But still, they're compliant with the standards naman. So the price point itself isn't a good gauge.
Thank you, Attorney Sop. I believe a colleague from D.T.I, Michelle Esteban, would like to screen share the BPS website so everyone here and those who will watch this asynchronously later will know what it looks like. So can we share that, please? Yeah. Michelle, could you explain to us what we're looking at?
I hope everyone can hear me. Yes.
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
So the Bureau of Philippine Standards can be accessed through this link.
Michelle, I think there's a bit of feedback. Do you have a second device?
Oh yes.
There you go. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So the Bureau of Philippine Standards. I think I'm together with Engineer Dale. Maybe he will be discussing. I'll just be screen sharing.
Okay. Thank you. So Engineer Dale, can you walk us through this website so we know how to navigate it when we visit it later?
Before we start, I would like to highlight first yung sa question po ni ma'am earlier na yung compliant po na child restraint systems. So, wait lang po sir kung saan galing yung ito.
Yeah, I think we have two devices that are logged on in the same room. That happens to us as well when we do these video calls.
Yes, sir. Ayan, I think okay na.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, i-highlight ko nga po, no, for the compliance, make sure nga po na
Layo ka na.
I think one of them has to mute their microphone.
Yeah, both microphone and speaker should be muted actually in one device.
Ayan, hello?
Sounds great. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Ayan, I would like to highlight nga po for the compliance po, no, make sure nyo lang po talaga na yung mga CRS na after the effectivity date na manufacture and na import na compliant siya or stand up to standard siya if they have the PS mark logo or the ICC sticker. So one way po pala to ensure na authentic yung sa ICC sticker, I think I showed earlier sa PowerPoint ko. Let me show you. Wait, may I screen share? This one. Oops, can you see my screen? Hello? Yes.
Yeah, we can see it. Go ahead.
This one. So there's a holographic image, a serial number, and a QR code. So you can also download our app in the Play Store. It's only available for Android devices for today. But I think we are developing for the iOS devices. But you can scan the QR code to see the details of the importer, the brand, and everything related to the shipment. So if the device or the app shows you the details, it means it's authentic.
Engineer Lim, what if we buy online and it's shipped from abroad, doesn't pass through you? Is that allowed or is that not allowed?
Sir, okay. So, regarding online shopping po, no, medyo mahirap po talaga yung regulation sa pagdating po sa online. Hindi po talaga namin controlled, pero kasi ang sa amin po, ang nag-a-apply po talaga is yung importers and manufacturers. Usually in bulk siya or mga shipments po talaga. In the case of online po, I think ang ma-advise ko lang talaga rin is yung vigilance natin as consumers, and if ever nga po na may complaints kayo, you can also contact yung other bureaus namin, which is yung SIPAB, Consumer Protection na Bureau, and yung FTEB, which is yung Fair Trade and Enforcement Bureau.
Okay. And just in case nakabili na tapos nalaman na lang bigla na meron pala talagang product standards, would L.T.O and D.T.I or D.T.I perhaps be able to check the quality of something that was purchased online and did not go through the importation process?
Yes, for L.T.O, we'll be inspecting car seats that have been purchased prior to the implementation of the law. So in other words, we will have our inspectors. Actually, we already have a template on the training of the inspectors and the protocol, courtesy of ImagineLaw. So right now we have.
Dalhin sa inyo yung car seat para po pa-inspect.
Yes, Asec.
Okay. Tapos, Mr. Valera, paano po ba yung apprehension nito? Will the police and the MMDA and the other authorities be checking the car seats? And is it going to be active or passive?
Just like the implementation of the seatbelt law, it's going to be visual. So, but we have to be careful in inspecting the car seats because we don't want also to alarm the child. So we have really to develop a protocol, and we will use that in the conduct of our training for the deputation as well as the enforcement, and to make sure that the child will not be alarmed if ever we're going to inspect the car seat.
Sir, pag nahuli po, hiniram yung sasakyan tapos nagpasakay ng parent na may kasamang anak, kung mahuli po, who is liable? Is it the driver or is it the owner of the vehicle?
It's the driver, sir. It's the driver.
So whoever is driving the vehicle will be liable.
Yes, sir.
Magkano po ang multa?
As mentioned by Tony Sop, it's a graduated scale of fines, 1,000, and then it will be increasing as they keep on violating the law.
Okay, thank you po. Those were follow-up questions received from some of our participants. Regine, if I can turn to you, we have time for maybe one more topic. Now, I was wondering, you're an entrepreneur, you're an opinion leader, you have a sense of public opinion. No? How do you think we can promote the use of CRS well and in an efficient and effective way? Because there will be some resistance, no? Because as we know, when we change people's behavior or when we ask them to change their behavior, it's not easy. So what's your advice to those who are advocating for this in terms of promoting CRS use?
Oh, that's a good question. Because of the culture now with social media, I think definitely we have to make it a lifestyle, make it a habit, make it like a thing to do. It should be something na natural para sa ating lahat. So we really have to start with ourselves being the good examples and posting it and putting it out there. All different classes from class A to class C, D, E, F, just showing the different ways and how we can use it and apply it in our cars and the benefits of it. So I think full force in every way, TV, Facebook, and word of mouth, of course. And of course, the education that you will provide, I suppose, in the papers and, your other tools and how to get it out there. But I think it's going to be difficult and take a while knowing yung ugali ng Pinoy. But eventually, I think we'll get there as long as we start with some influential people who can really show this how convenient it can be and how it is a good investment, diba? So yun ang kailangan natin. Kailangan isa puso na mag-seatbelt, ugaliin mag-car seat ang mga bata. We have to make sure that accidents happen, and yun nga, nasa batas na ito. So we have to buckle up our kids, it's good to save money, but we have to show them that it's infinitely better to save lives and to invest in a car seat. I love the costing that attorney gave, and it kind of enlightened me, because when you think about mahal, the 11,000 or 25 or 40,000 for a car seat, but yun nga, when you think about the span of the time that you can use it, talagang it becomes more okay, sige, kaya naman, abot kaya naman. So yeah, let's, I just want to also start with myself by sharing to others that we have to keep sharing about child safety on the road and the new car seat law in the Philippines. And we can use the hashtag BuckleUpKidsPH. So I'll be sure to try to put that out there, especially when I post, because I'm quite active when I'm posting about my daughter, Rosie. She's 8 months now, and I have a long way for her to be using a car seat. Lalo na inip na kaming lumabas at makagala someday soon. And we want to be prepared for that. And of course, finally, iwasan ang multa, mag-seatbelt na tayo. So tara na, i-car seat na natin si baby at ang mga bata. Yun.
Thank you, Regine. That's a very hopeful note not to end this panel Q&A session with. We started by commemorating road traffic victims. Now, the World Day of Remembrance was just last Sunday, November 15. And now we're looking forward to a very hopeful future, where a large percentage of fatal accidents can actually be and will be averted now here in the Philippines because of the implementation of this law. So thank you, Regine Tolentino. Thank you, Engineer Isaiah Dale Lim of the Bureau of Philippine Standards at D.T.I. Thank you, Mr. Roberto Valera, Head of the Traffic Safety Department of the L.T.O., Senator J.V. Ejercito for your message, Attorney Sofia San Luis, Sigrid Garcia, who joined us via video, the concerned parent who we showed earlier, and of course, Yukisha, the trustee, editor, and journalist from VERA Files. At this point, we'd like to ask for a closing message from one of the organizers of this event. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Bernadette Hoven, who is with Mind the Gap Communications and who will be wrapping up this seminar this afternoon. Bernadette?
Yes, hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, thank you very much, Asec Tony. And we're delighted to have organized this webinar. This has really been a meaningful and insightful afternoon. And as we remember loved ones who have passed on due to road crash, we are definitely not taking things sitting down. So as we remember them, the road crash victims, we must also support road safety measures and act on them. Let's do our share by complying and encouraging others to do the same. And that's precisely what our partners and stakeholders are doing. And of course, parents should be doing. Please allow me to thank each one very quickly. Attorney Sop of ImagineLaw, although Asec Tony have already thanked them. Senator JV, Sir Bong Valera of L.T.O, Engineer Isaiah Lim, and Ma'am Michelle Esteban of D.T.I, and Sir Neil Katahay for allowing them to be with us this afternoon. He's the D.T.I Director. Ma'am Chi Liquisha of VERA Files, the beautiful Miss Regine Tolentino, an advocate, road safety advocate, and of course our partners, the ImagineLaw, especially Rochelle Bartolay, thank you very much. Ideals Incorporated, they are the promoter of the Buckle Up Kids PH, headed by Sir Tony Salvador, with Julia Umapan and Tuesday Lagman. And of course, the parents that we interviewed, Sigrid Garcia with Mateo and Robin, Rona and EJ Azucena with Isla, Tom Rubio Otero with Rafa and Anses, Cesar Marquez and his son. And we also thank our partners, Eric Lazarde of Philippine Advocates for Road Safety, May Altarejos, Cueva of Project Care, and Philippine Road Safety Coalition. Pasensya na po, kailangang magpasalamat tayo. Global Road Safety Partnership and Global Health Advocacy Incubator. I hope I didn't miss any. Now, thank you also very much to our attendees. Thank you for making time. And last but not the least, I would like to thank my partners in Mind the Gap, Lem Roselion, Romer, Waki, and Jaco, Leah, Baronia, and Flor, and Sarai, and some very close friends, you know who you are. At of course, ang walang kakupas-kupas at napakahusay, especially as a father, as a boss. He used to be my boss. And a civil servant, Asec Tony Lambino. Thank you very much, Tony. And yeah, it's only fitting that we end this webinar with a very beautiful song and yeah, compelling song. It's entitled Save More Lives, sung and composed by Miss Monica Fernandez with Project Care. And but before we show you this very nice song, can we please have a photo shoot first of all the panelists and participants? So yeah, for posterity. Okay. So are we good, Lem, Leah, for the first frame?
Yes. But I think we need to, ilipat sa grid view. Can you do that from your end?
Yeah. I have that in grid view. Ay. Kailan po? Okay.
Okay, gallery view. Who's taking the picture? Okay.
I'm taking the picture with the attendees. We can see the attendees now. Okay. Anyway, so yeah. So before we end with a song, I just want to tell everyone, buckle up, kids. Buckle up your treasures. And thank you all. God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Maraming salamat po sa lahat. Maraming salamat to, Sir Tony.
Sir Tony.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. Ma'am Chi.
Yes, thank you too.
Bye,
Stay
baby.
safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Regine.
And cute.
Is that
Hi,
Rosie?
Baby Rose. Thank you. Okay, kailangan nyo ng child safety model. Ito siya, si Rosie.
Pwede.
Yes.
Oh nga, no. Cute. Happy 8th month. Baby Rosie.
She was born during the pandemic na pala, no?
Yes, March 17.
Ah, okay. Kaka-lockdown lang.
Lockdown din.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, bye guys.
We're ending the meeting.